"You're broke, you'll never leave." My girlfriend taunted while holding my credit card. Joke's on her, the bank canceled it, and so did I. I'm Ryan, 32 years old, male, and I swear, when I replay that night in my head, I still feel the same heat crawling up my neck, the same bitter taste in my mouth. Maya, 30 years old, female, my girlfriend of almost 3 years, was sitting on the couch, legs crossed like she was on a throne. She dangled my debit card between two fingers, flipping it back and forth so the numbers caught the lamplight. She smirked, eyes sharp with that taunting little glint she always got when she wanted to cut me down. "You're broke, you'll never leave," she said, like she was announcing some universal truth, her voice dripping with mockery. And maybe a month ago, I would have just laughed it off, buried the sting, convinced myself she was just joking. But that night, something in me cracked. See, Maya wasn't always this way. When we met, she was magnetic, the kind of woman who could walk into a room and command it without saying a word. She worked in PR, always buzzing with stories about campaigns, client dinners, champagne nights. She swept me into her orbit, made me feel like some scrappy underdog who'd lucked into the big leagues. I was fresh out of a layoff at the time, living paycheck to paycheck off contracting gigs. She said she admired my hustle. She said she liked a man who builds instead of coasts. And I believed her. I believed everything she said because in those early days she looked at me like I was something rare. But slowly, God, so slowly it was like boiling water, I stopped being a man she admired and started being a man she could ridicule. She joked about my old truck breaking down in front of her friends. She rolled her eyes at my cheap grocery runs, even though I was the one cooking dinner every damn night. She'd grab my card at restaurants, hold it up like it was a novelty toy, and tell the waiter, "Hope this one doesn't decline." Everyone would laugh. I laughed too. But I wasn't laughing anymore. Because what she didn't know as she spun my card in her hand that night was that I'd already called the bank. Already shut the account down. Already shifted my tiny stash of savings to a brand new account with a brand new card she'd never touch. So when she sneered, "You'll never leave," I just sat there, letting her bask in her little power trip. My hands were trembling. Not from fear, but from the surge of knowing something she didn't. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't stuck, and she was about to find that out. I sat there, my jaw clenched so tight I thought my teeth might crack, while Maya kept twirling that dead little piece of plastic like it was a crown jewel. She thought she had me pinned, helpless, broke, dependent. And the cruelest part? She wasn't entirely wrong. 3 years with her had drained me in ways I didn't even see until recently. Not just my bank account, though that too. She had a way of making every date night about showing off, every weekend about proving we were living some Instagram-ready life. But it was more than that. She drained the fight out of me. I used to be stubborn. My brother Ethan, 35, male, used to joke I'd argue with a brick wall just to win. But with Maya, it was always easier to swallow the words, to smooth things over. She could make her voice small and wounded one second, then razor sharp the next, and I never knew which version I'd get if I pushed back. And God help me, I loved her. Or maybe I loved the version of her I met, the version who said my beat-up hands were proof of grit, not failure. But the Maya in front of me wasn't that woman. She was poison dressed up pretty. "Seriously, Ryan," she said, lounging back on the couch. "You can huff and puff all you want, but without me, you're nothing. You think women line up for guys who can barely cover rent?" She flicked the card onto the coffee table like it disgusted her. My fists curled at my sides. I didn't answer. Because what could I say? That I'd already started cutting the strings she tied around me? That she wasn't holding me hostage anymore, even if she didn't know it? She smirked at my silence. That's what I thought. That night, I barely slept. I stared at the ceiling, my chest heavy, my mind racing through years of little humiliations I'd brushed aside. The restaurant jokes, the way she'd text other guys at bars right in front of me, daring me to react. The Christmas when she bought herself jewelry with my card and gave me socks saying, "Well, you needed them." And I remembered the look in her eyes when she said I'd never leave. It wasn't fear, it wasn't worry, it was confidence. She believed it. She believed I was hers to mock, hers to control, hers to discard when she was bored. By morning, something inside me had solidified. I wasn't just angry anymore, I was done. When she stumbled into the kitchen, hair messy, scrolling her phone with that distracted half-frown she always wore before coffee, I was already sitting at the table, my truck keys in front of me, the dead credit card next to them. "Maya," I said evenly, and her head lifted just enough to register my tone. Not pleading, not defeated, just final. Her brows pulled together. "What?" I nudged the card toward her. "You can keep it. It's worthless now. Just like this relationship." She blinked like the words didn't compute. "What are you talking about?" I stood up. "I'm talking about the fact that I canceled it. And I canceled us." The coffee mug in her hand froze midair. Then she set it down, slowly, her eyes narrowing, her whole face shifting into something sharp and dangerous. "Don't play games with me, Ryan," she hissed. "You wouldn't last a week without me." But she was wrong. I'd already lasted one night, and for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid. "Don't forget to subscribe." Her face did that thing I'd seen 100 times, like a storm cloud swallowing the sun. First shock, then disbelief, then that ugly heat rising in her eyes. "You're not serious," Maya said, voice low, almost a growl. She leaned on the counter like she was bracing herself. "You're just trying to scare me, to make some kind of point." But I didn't flinch. I grabbed my jacket from the chair. "No point, Maya, just the truth." She followed me, quick steps slapping the floor, and when I reached for the door, she yanked it shut with a slam. "You think you can just leave me? You don't walk away from me, Ryan. You can't. You're nothing without me." It wasn't the first time she'd said those words, but something about the way she spit them out, like venom, like scripture, made me realize how deep her delusion ran. She actually believed she owned me. I stepped back, met her glare. "I've been nothing with you," I said. "Now I get to find out who I am without you." Her laugh was sharp, humorless. "Oh, that's rich. What are you gonna do, Ryan? Go crying to Ethan? Move into his spare room like some washed-up charity case? You'll come crawling back. You always do?" Ethan, my brother, had warned me more times than I could count. "She's hollow, Rye. She only builds herself up by breaking you down." And every time I defended her, told him he didn't understand. But now, I wished he was here to see this, to see me finally growing a spine. I reached past her, opened the door. She shoved it closed again, harder this time, and before I could react, she snatched the useless card off the table and hurled it at me. It hit my chest and clattered to the floor. "You're pathetic," she screamed. "Do you hear me? Pathetic!" Her voice cracked into something raw, and suddenly she was crying, big, ugly tears spilling down her cheeks. She slid down the doorframe, clutching at her hair like she might tear it out. "Don't you dare do this to me, Ryan. Don't you dare!" That was the Maya I knew too well, the one who weaponized her breakdowns. Every fight ended this way, her sobbing, me crumbling, her winning. But not this time. I bent down, picked up the card, and set it gently on the table beside her. "You don't control me anymore." Her sobs faltered for half a second, just long enough for me to open the door and step out. She didn't chase me. Not yet. The air outside was cold, sharp, like the first real breath I'd taken in months. My truck sat in the driveway, stubbornly dented and rusted. But it was mine. Paid off. Still running. I slid behind the wheel and gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. And as I drove away, I saw her through the window, silhouette hunched in the doorway, then suddenly rising, pacing, grabbing her phone. I knew that look. This wasn't over. Maya didn't let go. She clung, she clawed. And if I'd just broken her favorite toy, she was about to show me exactly how much destruction she was capable of. I barely made it 2 blocks before my phone lit up. Maya. Then again, and again. By the time I hit the main road, she'd called me 8 times. My phone buzzed like it was possessed. Calls, texts, voicemails stacking on each other. I pulled into the gas station just to breathe and scrolled through the flood. "You don't mean this. Come back and talk like an adult. If you walk away, I swear you'll regret it." And then, the one that made my stomach flip. "Everyone will know what kind of loser you really are." That was Maya's real weapon. Not fists, not money, perception. She lived for appearances, for the curated image. And now she was going to torch mine. By the time I got to Ethan's place, he was already waiting at the door. I hadn't even called him yet. He just knew. That's the thing about brothers. He took one look at me, pale and shaky, and just stepped aside. Get in. Ethan didn't ask questions at first, just poured me coffee and sat across the kitchen table, watching me like he'd been expecting this day for years. Finally, he said, "So, you did it." "Yeah," my voice cracked. "I did." He leaned back, smirked a little. "About damn time." But Maya wasn't done. Not even close. The next morning, I walked out to my truck and found it keyed down both sides. Deep, ugly scratches like someone had dragged a knife with all their weight, and my stomach sank. I didn't even need to guess. Then came the barrage of calls, not to me, but to my boss, to mutual friends, even to Ethan. She told people I'd stolen money from her, that I'd left her high and dry after living off her generosity. She posted a picture of my old truck on Instagram with the caption, "Imagine losing me and going back to this." It stung. I won't lie. Some people bought her act. A couple friends went quiet, stopped returning my messages. My boss called me into his office to ask if I was in some kind of trouble. That was Maya's chaos, making me look like the villain while she played the victim. But here's the thing. She didn't know I'd been preparing for this. Because every insult she ever threw, every time she swiped my card for something flashy, every text she sent bragging about how she had me wrapped, I'd kept. Quietly. Stored away. Like a trail of breadcrumbs leading straight to the truth. And for the first time in 3 years, I wasn't afraid to use it. Don't forget to subscribe. Update. Wow. I didn't expect this to blow up the way it did. I've been sitting here scrolling through comments for hours. Some of you had me laughing so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. Others hit me with truths I wasn't ready for but needed to hear. Couple standouts. To the guy who said, "She sounds like the type to boil your goldfish if you don't pick up the phone," yeah, you're not wrong. Replace goldfish with truck paint, and you've basically called it. To the folks DMing me about moving my stuff out ASAP, trust me, I'm way ahead of you. Ethan practically dragged me to Home Depot yesterday to buy locks for his place. He doesn't want her storming in, and honestly, I wouldn't put it past her. And to the person who commented, "You've been emotionally homeless for years. Welcome home." Damn, that one hit me right in the chest. For those asking what she's done since, she's been busy. She nuked my social circle, or at least tried to. Called one of my closest friends and told him I was dangerous and unstable. This is the same friend who watched her scream at a bartender last summer because they were out of her favorite vodka, so he didn't buy it. But here's the kicker. She didn't stop at friends. She called my boss. Told him I was stealing from company funds. I work construction. I don't even have access to funds. My boss pulled me aside, dead serious, and asked, "Ryan, do I need to be worried?" I nearly laughed, but then I saw he wasn't joking. That's how convincing she can be when she flips the switch. I'm not going to lie. Part of me wanted to crawl back just to shut her up. That's how twisted my brain got from being with her. But then I remembered every single time she made me feel small. Every time she smirked while holding my card. Every time she reminded me I was lucky she put up with me. And then I thought, no, I'm not crawling. Not anymore. So here's where it gets interesting. Remember how I said I'd kept everything? Screenshots, texts, voice notes, photos of her little shopping sprees funded by my broke-ass card. Even the receipts she left lying around that I quietly tucked away. Well, she wanted to make this public. She wanted to turn it into a show. Fine. Let's give her a show she'll never forget. All right, here's where things tipped from toxic breakup into full-blown chaos. A couple days after the keyed truck and the flood of calls, Maya decided to make her move public. Not just gossip-level public. I mean Facebook posts, Instagram rants, TikToks with sad music in the background, painting herself as the poor, abandoned girlfriend who supported her broke boyfriend for years until he ran off without warning. She even dug up an old picture of us at a wedding, me in a wrinkled shirt because I'd worked a double shift that day, and captioned it, "This is the man I wasted 3 years on. Don't make the same mistake, ladies." It spread fast. Mutuals started DMing me, some asking if it was true, others sending screenshots like they couldn't believe the nerve. Ethan called me that night, practically vibrating with rage. "She's trying to ruin you, Rye. Don't just sit there. Hit back." And that's when it clicked. I didn't have to just defend myself. I could flip the script. Remember all those receipts, texts, and screenshots I'd been saving? The ones where she bragged about maxing out my card on business dinners that were actually rooftop bars with her girlfriends? The ones where she joked to a friend, "He's too scared to leave. I could drain him dry and he'd thank me." Yeah, I had ammo. So I started small. Sent one screenshot, the one where she admitted using my card to buy herself a designer bag, directly to her boss. PR world. Image is everything. Within 24 hours, she'd deleted half her social posts and went private on the rest. But Maya doesn't go down quietly. Oh no. That weekend, I walked into my job site and found a scene straight out of a nightmare. The driver's side window of my truck shattered, glass everywhere, and a bright red lipstick smear across the windshield in the shape of a heart. Classy, right? Thing is, I'd half expected it. So I'd parked under a security camera the night before. By Monday, my boss was watching the footage of Maya strutting up to my truck at 2 a.m., heels clicking, smashing the glass with a brick like she was performing for an audience. When I confronted her with the footage, she didn't deny it. She laughed, actually laughed like she thought it was romantic. "At least I still get under your skin," she said. That was the moment I stopped playing defense. I went home, sat at Ethan's kitchen table, and spread out everything I had. Screenshots, receipts, photos of damage, even the voicemail where she called me pathetic and swore she'd ruin me. Ethan leaned over, grinning like a kid at Christmas. "Time to burn the bridge, little brother." And I knew he was right. Maya wanted a show? I was about to give her one so spectacular that she'd wish she'd never touched my wallet. Or my name. I didn't want half measures anymore. Maya had already keyed my truck, smashed my window, lied to my boss, and staged a sob story performance on social media. If I kept playing defense, she'd bury me, so I went nuclear. Ethan helped me organize everything. He's the kind of guy who color codes his garage, so when I laid out my pile of screenshots and receipts, he sorted them like we were prepping for trial. "This isn't just proof, Ryan," he said, flipping through a stack of her texts. "This is a demolition kit. We picked the perfect moment, one of Maya's client events, a swanky PR launch at a downtown hotel. She'd spent the whole week hyping it on Instagram, posting mirror selfies and dresses tagged with hashtag boss life and hashtag girl on top. I knew she'd be in her element, center of attention, everyone watching. So I timed it. Half an hour after the event kicked off, I dropped a curated album into the world. Screenshots of Maya bragging about draining me, receipts for luxury stuff she claimed were work expenses, videos of her screaming at bartenders and waiters. Yep, I'd filmed those little meltdowns she thought nobody noticed. I didn't post it under my name. I sent it anonymously to 3 of her biggest clients and one of her coworkers who'd never liked her anyway. It spread faster than wildfire. By the time Maya grabbed the mic to toast her amazing team, people in the audience were already checking their phones, whispering, side-eyeing her. One guy actually laughed out loud. Maya froze mid-sentence, confused, until her coworker walked right up and shoved a phone in her face. Her smile dropped. Later, Ethan and I sat in his truck across the street, watching through the hotel windows as Maya unraveled. She tried to keep talking, tried to salvage it, but people started leaving in droves. Within an hour, the event was practically empty. She stormed out, mascara streaking, phone glued to her ear as she screamed at someone. I'm guessing her boss. But she wasn't done. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a string of texts. "You think you're clever? You ruined my career. Do you know what you've done? I will never forgive you. If I go down, I'm taking you with me." The last one came with a photo, my truck again, parked outside Ethan's. She'd driven by. That was when it hit me. She wasn't just humiliated. She was dangerous. Ethan saw the picture too. He looked at me, dead serious. "You need to protect yourself, Rye. This isn't drama anymore. This is obsession." And he was right. Because when Maya realized she couldn't control me with money or shame, she was going to escalate. And I had no idea just how far she'd go. Update 2. Okay, so I didn't think I'd be back this soon, but holy hell, things escalated faster than I imagined. First off, thank you. I've been reading through the comments again, and some of you seriously have a sixth sense for this stuff. Remember the people who said, "She's not going to take the L quietly, she's going to escalate"? Yeah, you were right. Scarily right. Quick recap for anyone new. I dropped the receipts on Maya at her big client event. Screenshots, videos, receipts, the whole demolition kit. She went down in flames. Her own coworkers turned on her mid-speech. By the time she stormed out, mascara running, I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd finally retreat. Nope. The last 48 hours have been insane. She's been circling my life like a vulture. First, the texts. You'll pay for this. You think anyone will believe you didn't drive me to this? You ruined my reputation, so I'll ruin yours. Then came the calls to my job, again. But this time, my boss didn't even bother entertaining her. He'd seen the footage of her smashing my truck window and knew exactly what kind of person she was. Shout out to him for telling me, Ryan, don't let her psychotic soap opera ruin your paycheck. But the scariest part, she showed up. Ethan caught her on his Ring camera at 1:30 a.m., creeping up the driveway in her car, headlights off. She just sat there for 10 minutes, engine idling before peeling out. I wasn't even home at the time, I was crashing at a buddy's, but seeing that footage made my blood run cold. Some of you joked in the comments of my last post, next she'll try to pull a fatal attraction. It doesn't feel like a joke anymore. I'm actually considering getting a restraining order because it feels like we're past games now. I'll admit, part of me still feels guilty. Like maybe I did push her too far airing her dirty laundry at work. But then I remind myself she keyed my truck, shattered my window, called my boss, smeared me online, and mocked me for years. She wanted war. I just stopped rolling over. And now? Now it feels like I'm in the final round with someone who doesn't know how to lose. So buckle up, because if you thought the lipstick on my windshield was bad, wait until you hear what she does next. I knew Maya was unhinged, but even I wasn't prepared for how far she'd go once the event humiliation settled in. 2 nights after Ethan caught her sitting in his driveway, I came back from a late shift and immediately knew something was wrong. My gut went ice cold before I even saw it. The front door to Ethan's place hanging slightly open, the lock clearly jimmied. I rushed inside, calling out his name. He was fine, thank God, but the place wasn't. Cushions slashed open, picture frames shattered. My duffel bag, the one I'd brought when I left Maya, dumped across the living room floor. Clothes everywhere. But the worst part was on the wall above the couch. My own driver's license photo, printed out and taped up, with red lipstick smeared across the eyes. Ethan stared at it, jaw clenched so tight his cheek twitched. She broke in here, Ryan. This isn't just crazy ex crap anymore. This is criminal. I wanted to collapse, but the adrenaline kept me upright. Maya had crossed into dangerous territory. Breaking into Ethan's house wasn't just revenge. It was a message. I can still get to you. We called the cops, filed a report. The officers were professional enough, but I could tell they thought it was just a messy breakup. One even muttered, "Exes get dramatic sometimes," while jotting down notes. Ethan nearly lost it on him. She vandalized my house and left that on the wall, and you call it dramatic? The cops promised to keep an eye out. Translation, don't expect much. That night I sat on Ethan's porch staring at the wreckage of my duffel bag, the lipstick still staining my ID. Rage built up in me until it felt like I was vibrating. Maya wanted me scared, cornered, ashamed. And yeah, I was scared, but I was also done. She'd always thrived on twisting narratives, making me the villain. But now she'd given me something undeniable. Evidence. Proof of how far she'd fallen. Ethan leaned against the porch railing, arms crossed. You've got everything you need, Rye. Screenshots, receipts, video of her smashing your truck, police report for the break-in. What are you waiting for? And he was right. I wasn't the cornered one anymore. I had leverage, so I made a decision. No more playing defense, no more hiding. If Maya wanted to be a spectacle, I'd drag her whole act into the spotlight, where the world could see exactly who she was. But I wasn't going to scream or threaten. I was going to use her favorite weapon, appearances. The same image she worshipped, the same image she destroyed herself trying to protect. And when it was over, she wouldn't just lose me. She'd lose everything she thought made her untouchable. I didn't sleep the night after the break-in. I sat at Ethan's kitchen table scrolling through every screenshot, video, and receipt I'd collected over the last 3 years. My stomach was tight, my hands jittery, but my mind was clear for the first time. Maya had spent years weaponizing shame. She wanted to make me small, invisible, dependent. But now, I held every ugly truth in my hands, and I knew exactly where to aim. So I built the stage. The next morning, I sent everything to a local gossip blog that thrived on influencer scandals. They didn't even hesitate. By noon, their front page screamed, PR queen exposed, designer bags, fake expenses, and a trail of chaos. They embedded my videos of her meltdowns, posted screenshots of her bragging about draining me, even included the police report for the break-in. By evening, it was everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Reddit threads tearing apart her fake girl boss brand. Hashtags with her name trending in the worst way possible. And Maya? She absolutely unraveled. She called me 30 plus times in a single hour, voice swinging from pleading to shrieking in the voicemails. You don't know what you've done. Please take it down. I'll do anything. I'll make sure everyone knows you drove me to this. You'll regret it, Ryan. Then came the grand finale. She showed up at my old apartment. Thank God I wasn't there anymore. Screaming in the hallway, pounding on the door until the neighbors called the cops. Someone filmed it on their phone, and within hours that video was online too. Maya barefoot, mascara running, shrieking like a banshee about how she'd been betrayed by a nobody. It was over. Her boss fired her within the week. Clients dropped her like hot coals. The social circle she'd spent years cultivating turned their backs overnight. Even her own family reached out to me privately, apologizing, saying they had no idea how bad it was. Ethan and I watched it all unfold from his living room. He cracked a beer, slid it across the table, and said, "That's one hell of a curtain call, little brother." And me? I didn't feel triumphant, not exactly. It wasn't fireworks and champagne. It was quieter than that. A heavy, suffocating weight lifted off my chest. For the first time in years, I could breathe without waiting for the next insult, the next jab, the next performance. Maya thought I'd never leave because I was broke. But I left, and she's the one left bankrupt, of her image, her career, her power. And that, to me, is the sweetest revenge. Do you want me to write a short epilogue-style reflection from Ryan, like he's posting weeks later about how life feels now that the dust has settled? Or leave it right here at the peak of Maya's downfall?